Welcome to the newest edition of the Huddle House. This is going to be a fun one, guys, because a lot going on. It's obviously the final week of the season. Some real pivotal matchups going on. This is where things get really juicy. And who better to have on this episode than Marcus McCleary, one of the two guys that's in a really pivotal matchup this week, and Ty being the other one. So we have a good show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Big week, big implications on the line. I guess my situation is for the 6th seed in the playoffs, while Marcus's is for draft position. So we're kind of fighting for different things, but both will be matchups to watch this week. I'm feeling anxious about it already, and I just know I'm going to be a wreck Sunday. So prepare.
I don't envy you guys and the stress that's coming with this week.
I do have a question though, Matt. Why do you freaking need JaMychal Hasty this week, man? Why did you just have to put $10 on JaMychal Hasty to have him?
I have Fab. Why not use it? I mean, if I have Fab, might as well try to keep winning. I mean, I'm competitive. I'm trying to screw Lucas over. If I lose this week, Lucas might get a top 3 pick from me, and that'll make the Diggs trade worse. So I'm still trying to screw him over and make his pick like pick 8. So it's just a little something to play for.
As a guy with an extremely thin roster, looking for any glimmer of hope of depth for a flex play, because Corey Davis is a freaking bum. I log in this morning and see that I'd have been okay if it was a playoff contender, like somebody's still playing for something. It makes sense. But Matthew Barnes grabs JaMychal Hasty in my bid. That was the only other person that bid on him. I was like, son of a gun. Like, what does he need him for? And to go 6 and 8 or whatever, 5 and 9. I mean, you never give up.
To play spoiler.
It's frustrating.
Not for you, for Lucas. I'm trying to screw Lucas over.
And it wasn't even like he's going to be good this week. It's just like maybe there's a small chance if this guy's out and that guy's out and this guy's out, maybe he'll get featured. So I mean,
I'm hoping for an Elijah Mitchell concussion leading him out this week.
I bet you are hoping for that. Yeah. Anyway, that's my
hoping for injuries, Matt. Here we go again.
Yeah, I'm hoping his brain's really.
But yeah, I mean,
and next year if his brain stays,
I told the league.
Go ahead.
I told the league that my guys have really been playing their heart out this year, so you can see with my 5 wins so far. So I really think that some of them deserve rest this week. I mean, particularly Jefferson and Lamar and Gibson. They really could use a week off. Cortland can stay, though. He can stay.
Cortland needs the reps, but JJ
Cortland hasn't been working hard enough. He needs the time.
He doesn't need to work. He's got that bread now, baby. He can just coast it out. He signed the deal. He can keep doing what he's doing, apparently.
All right, so let's get into this. We're just going to talk really briefly. We have something interesting planned for this episode that we're going to spend the majority of the show on. But real quick, let's just kind of talk about these 2 big matchups, Marcus Lucas, Ty Austin, and just sort of see who we think is going to win them. Marcus, I think you kind of already know the answer to this question based on your poll this morning, but I think everybody thinks you're winning, man. And I know that's unfortunate.
Unfortunately, I agree. I mean, you look at Lucas's team, and I mean, that looks like a Jake team from years past. So I don't know how I expect to get a loss here, but I just know that I'm going to have my sleeper big play notifications on and just fingers crossed that none of those come across the screen next week. So it would be so nice to have pick 2, especially because I think this rookie draft is very underrated.
It is underrated, I think, too. Ty, you're kind of in the same boat as me. I mean, obviously you don't want Keenan Allen to be in a horrible shape, but it wouldn't be a bad thing for you if he misses 1 week. Would it be the end of the world if Keenan Allen recovers from COVID on Monday?
I would be, a fan of that, but ultimately, man, I mean, whenever I look at my roster compared to Austin's, it's like it's eye-opening, man, because my team just is. It's so thin right now, and maybe it's some of the trades I made this year. Maybe it's bad injury luck with Swift and Cook both being out at the same time. But I mean, my lineup compared to his, it pales in comparison right now. So I'm kind of just hoping what I feel like I'm relying on is an underperformance from him, and maybe to break 100. I think my big game is the Sunday night game, the Packers and Bears, obviously with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. So I can already, but he has AJ Dillon too. So I already see a scenario where they get the ball on the 3-yard line, and I'm like, please, just a pass to Devontae. Like that's like a 10, 11, 12-point swing, but I could see it going to like a handoff to AJ Dillon. So it'd be like what could have been he gets instead. I could totally see stuff like that happening. So, and that's to say I'm even in the game at that point because literally everything. I have nothing else that I can really count on until those two. Because Travis Kelce's been up and down this year, and
You got Alex Madison, bro. You can count on that.
yeah, I'd like to think so. But Dalvin was limited today in practice. They're talking like he might come back, so I don't know what the workload's going to be like for that. I wouldn't think so, especially with it being a short week.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow, bro. So I think that he'll be out.
Yeah,
And Madison, whenever Cook is out, is a top 10 play. So you got that going for you.
that's true. He's been really good. He has Najee Harris too in that Thursday night game, so it'll be a little running back.
That'll be a crazy game.
Yeah, and then he also looked into the Chuba Hubbard thing starting for the Panthers now, which I don't know exactly how good Chuba Hubbard is, but it's still like a depth piece to become a starter. So when I just look, and he's got Elijah Moore, who's the absolute bane of my existence this year as a Corey Davis manager. Like Elijah Moore is what Corey Davis should have been in this offense.
Yeah.
But Elijah Moore's good. So he's got that guy who's been coming on lately, and Mark Andrews has been really great, like Lamar's number one guy. So when I just look at our rosters, his is much more playoff like bound, it seems, than mine. I mean, that's not to say I can't make some noise if I get in there, but I just think his is more suited to carry a little longer with depth and everything. But
yeah, it'll be a tough game, and he feels the same way. He's just as unconfident as you are. If you saw his message in Sleeper the other day, like he doesn't feel very confident about it either.
I did see them, yeah.
It's a big game.
Nobody wants that 7 seed, man. It's the absolute worst, especially me who I made trades to make the playoffs this year. So like if I don't, it's kind of like I gave away my 2nd round pick. I gave away like a lot of solid depth at receiver to make a run at this. And if I don't, it's kind of just like I feel like the long-term implications of that are going to be painful.
Trust me, brother. I understand. Nobody likes the 7th spot is the same as nobody likes the 5th spot from the last 3 years. I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah.
So, Matt, do you want to tell the audience what we're getting into today?
Yeah. So, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make a 1 through 14 list, each of us kind of saying our picks of who we think the best dynasty assets are. So, this is like our personal list. It's very hard to make this ranking because everything's so subjective, and it's a total coin flip with a lot of these picks. But these are like, this isn't based on this year alone. This is, I mean, we are taking this year's data into account, but this is, with what we know now at this current point in the season, who do we like the most? If the startup draft was tomorrow, who do we like the most for Dynasty from here on out for the rest of time, essentially? So,
well said.
That's what we're doing. So,
we're going to go as if it was a draft 1 through 14. We're going to start with number 1. We're all going to say our number 1. Then we're going to go to number 2. I'll say our number 2, and then so forth. So, who wants to start us off with 1.01?
I
think Matthew Barnes should start us off with this.
I'm in agreement.
Drum roll, please. This is so shocking. I know you guys don't know what I'm going to say. Jonathan Taylor. I think I got the best player in for dynasty metrics in the league, and I love him to death. Definitely was obviously my unanimous consensus number 1. Never doubted it for a second. Not that there's not other great players, but JT's the dude. He's getting great workload, so effective with the carries. So he's my number 1.
I also have Jonathan Taylor number 1.
Yep, I'm in agreement.
All right.
Okay.
So
I'll start off number 2.
All right.
JJ, Justin Jefferson's number 2 for me.
That's my number 2. We agreed, Marcus.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, he's high on my list too, but I have Derrick Henry at number 2.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
Buddy, we're talking dynasty going forward. He's 28 years old.
I'm aware of what he's talking. Why can't you guys just hear me out for a minute?
Okay. Go.
Because he's still an incredible workhorse, like an unfortunate injury this year. But anytime he's going to be playing, which I'd imagine he's still got 3 or 4 years in him, of leading the NFL in rushing. I think that's valuable no matter what. I mean, you could take a flyer on Antonio Gibson because he's younger, but you know what you're going to have in Derrick Henry, and you see what their offense is like without him. So, Derrick Henry is my number 2.
Wow. I won't spoil too much going forward, but Derrick Henry doesn't crack the top 14 for me. So to see you have him at 2 is pretty astonishing. I mean, a Jones fracture in your foot at 28 is not nothing.
Well, it's just the fact for me, like, I mean, he's such a good back. And I mean, I know the workload will be there, and I know the Titans have a good offense, but at the same time, it's just like, I mean, I get worried as a JT owner whenever I see him get 30 plus carries a game, because it's like that wears on a guy. And I know Derrick Henry's a big body, but I feel like he's almost been kind of overworked these past 3 seasons. And
well, you said we're doing it like if this was a redraft, not if it's just like pure dynasty, like value, like your top dynasty assets. This is like if we're doing a redraft, right? For a first round.
No, this is if we did a dynasty draft starting tomorrow. We're redrafting our dynasty league,
like what we did before week 1, but with what we know now, like still for dynasty standards. But
if you had a dynasty draft tomorrow, who would you take number 2?
Like you took Dalvin number 2. You're saying that you think James should have taken JT number 1, and you would have taken Derrick Henry number 2, is what you're saying.
Knowing he has a Jones fracture and is 28 years old, for a dynasty league, you take him number 2.
I'm sticking with it, but I feel like I'm a little confused based on the conversation we had earlier. But I'm sticking with what I have. So let's keep going.
All right. Well, knowing this going forward, though, Ty, it's a dynasty draft. Who do you have at 3?
I have Najee Harris.
Okay.
Whoa.
I think it's fair.
I also have Najee Harris at 3. I am shocked that you have him there because of our conversations about the Swift versus Najee thing, but I have Najee at 3.
You know I like Swift, but there's just Najee gets just as much passing volume almost. He's not as explosive, but he gets, a bigger piece of the pie. So I think Swift has higher upside to break long ones all the time, but I mean I agree. Derrick Henry. He's like Derrick Henry Jr. Najee Harris is.
Okay, so, Barnes, who do you have at 3?
My number 3 is not Najee Harris. My number 3 is Jamar Chase. Okay. I value receivers, their shelf life. I do have some minor concerns with Jamar. Like after week 8, he seems like he's a little bit deep ball dependent. It seems like he's kind of getting that way. T. Higgins is getting most of this kind of like the 10, 15-yard routes. I think that'll change, though. I'm super confident Jamar Chase will get back on track. I've just seen some metrics and some stats that after week 8, he's actually been pretty pedestrian. So I'm expecting the talent to shine through, and he'll get back to where he was the first 8 weeks. I know the talent's elite, but he has been kind of underwhelming the last couple weeks. He's still an amazing talent, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. He's definitely one of the elite receivers for dynasty purposes, at least. Number 4, I went DeAndre Swift.
Okay. Interesting. Thoughts about Swift, Marcus? What led you to that decision?
I mean, he's still 22 years old. He's still super young. He's proven that it doesn't matter how bad the Lions offense is, he's still productive. Even if the offensive line isn't good, the passing down work is always there. I don't see that changing even with Jared Goff potentially leaving. And he just has that position locked up, and he's very explosive. So when we're talking for a dynasty draft, I know receivers have a longer shelf life, but also running backs have a higher value. So I feel like if I was in a dynasty draft today and I had Swift or Chase sitting there, I would take Swift.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. I know that running backs are a little bit more of a scarce position. I just sometimes worry. Like you look at the first round running backs this year, the majority of them are injured right now, and so it's just kind of that concern that I feel like wide receivers don't normally have as significant of injuries. Like they do get injured, but they're not normally as like detrimental to their like career path. And so I get worried that they'll get banged up and that they'll just fall off a cliff. It's always the concern. I like the shelf life of receivers. So it's close, but I have Najee Harris at 4 for me. Okay. 3, I have him at 4. I just like Jamar slightly more, but I agree with everything you guys said about Najee.
I have Justin Jefferson at 4 for me.
Cool.
Yeah, that dude's incredible. So that's the easy decision there.
All right. Number 5, Matt.
That's where I got Swift.
Swift. Okay.
Yep, Swift at 5.
I went Jamar Chase at 5 for me.
Yeah, I have Chase as well.
So I think we all have the same top 5 except for Derrick Henry thrown in there, just different orders. So we all have Chase, Najee, Taylor, and JJ. You didn't have Swift in your top 5, Ty, did you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Ty didn't have Swift there. He had Derrick Henry. But me and Marcus, we have the same top 5, just different orders.
No one's lower on DeAndre Swift than the guy that exudes the most love for him.
I know. He told us in the text before the show he was going to put him at 2. And actually,
Yeah.
I was just kidding about that, but again, I misunderstood exactly what we were doing here when I was coming up with these. But I mean, dude, you seriously don't have Derrick Henry in your top 14?
Oh, bro. When has going young ever hurt someone in a dynasty league, bro? It doesn't. Like, you get burnt when you go with the older players like Chris Carson. Like, oh, he's so solid. No, he's 26 now and getting next cert. Like you go with the young guys and it works out for you.
Carson's no Derrick Henry though. That's not the most.
Okay, I understand that, but would you rather have Alvin Kamara or DeAndre Swift? Like, you took the older guy that you knew was more certain, but it doesn't work out like that for dynasty. Like, you want the young studs.
I think,
like, if I could go back and do it, I would pick all the young guys. Like, just start taking darts at young guys.
Yeah.
I think Ty's trying to get in Chris's good graces, so maybe he can trade for the number 1 pick a little bit.
Yeah. He's going to trade DeAndre Swift next year for Derrick Henry. So, all right. Number 6, I'll start off because I know Matt will like this. I have CeeDee Lamb at number 6.
I do like that. You're higher on him than I am then. I don't have him at 6. I do love CeeDee, though. I'll go Austin Eckler here at 6. He's still 25. Doesn't have any. I mean, he's had injuries, but nothing overly significant. Doesn't seem like it's really held him back, as far as production or the way he runs. I love the passing work. Love the future of the offense. He's got a great offensive line. They get in the red zone a lot. I mean, he's like RB2 or 3 for the season, so there's not really a whole lot not to like. And I don't think he's super old yet, so I think you're still getting 3 to 4. Maybe even 5 years of good production, as barring any major injuries. So I put Eckler at 6.
Yeah, he's actually 26, but I think that's a fair argument. Just the production's been there. The only thing I worry about with him is injury history plus age of running backs is really concerning. So, but I mean, if anyone at that age is doing it, other than Derrick Henry, he's up there. So 6.
Swift is 6 for me.
Okay, Swift 6.
All right, Ty, lead us off with 7.
7, I have Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. That's going to be one of the most controversial takes of anyone where they place Christian McCaffrey, because that's got to be the biggest spread. Like, some people have him at like top 5, other people have him not in the top 15, other people don't have him in the top 20. It's just really tough to put that guy somewhere.
Like the 2 years of injuries in a row is obviously like a huge concern. But I mean, I think whenever he's on the field, it just shows even the limited time he's been on the field this year, he's still been one of the top players in fantasy. I mean, I think that is going to be there. And I think I just want to bank on the talent and I mean, I don't know, as you can't leave him off the top 14 because he's that good. So I think
yeah,
middle is a bad spot.
James and Ty are gonna hate me for this, but I don't have CNC. I have him right around the 20 mark.
I don't have him quite that low, but I'm much lower on him than Ty is. And it's just he's so hard to place because obviously the talent's good, but if you make, what did you play, 5 games in the last 2 years? You played 5 games in the last 2 years. You can't be trusted. And if you're 25, like, for an NFL running back, that's not a spring chicken. So it's like a situation where you're like, how many more years of dominance does he have left? Like, I understand he could stick around because of the pass catching work and whatever. But when you're talking about a player that puts up the volume he does to have the numbers that he does, and you've been injured pretty much the whole last 2 years, how do you gauge that going forward?
Yeah.
And so it's like there's so many other guys that are more safe bets that I just.
And the thing is, they've been like a lot of injuries linger even after you recover from them, and he's had different injuries in different places. So if multiple of those linger, like, how do we know he'll ever be 100%? Like, he might be good enough to play here and there, but he'll play a couple games and then just re-aggravate it and get injured again. And so it's just like, and the Panthers, they're super conservative with him because they don't want him to have like a career-ending injury or anything like that. So, he gets hurt a little bit, and they'll definitely put him on IR just because they don't want to risk it. So
It's super tricky.
When a guy gets injured that much in that short of a time span, I'm the same way with Saquon. Like, I stay away because I just don't want to. I don't want to deal with the stress that a player like that brings.
Yeah.
Unless I can get him for cheap, but I know that McCaffrey will never sell for cheap. It's just a guy that I wouldn't want anything to do with just because I don't want to deal with the injuries.
Yeah, for sure. Did you say your number 7, Matt?
No, so my number 7 is CeeDee Lamb. I had him one spot behind you.
Okay.
An amazing.
My number 7 is Tyreek Hill.
Okay, yeah, he's amazing, and he's got a lot of good years left.
Yeah, I think so.
What you got?
He already said his number 7.
Oh wait,
CMC.
Oh, McCaffrey. Yeah, CMC. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, you guys ready for another controversial take from me?
Number 8.
This is the one that I knew was probably going to get a reaction. I have Javonte at 8.
Okay.
Like, when has going young ever hurt anyone in a dynasty draft? It doesn't. And especially when it's a young person that has shown production. It's like if we would have taken Taylor 1.1 because we saw, like, okay, this guy's 22 years old. He's doing this and this. Like, with running backs that are the talent that he is, like at the age that he is, I'm taking him over guys like CMC, guys like that. I just personally, I'd much rather have him than CMC.
Yeah, I have him over CMC for sure. He's actually in my honorable mentions. I ended up doing 15 through 20 just for the fun of it. I don't have to share him necessarily, but he's right at my 15. So he'd just be the first pick of the second round. So I am super high on him also, but I don't know if I'd go as far as to say 8 when he's only had one game where he actually started. And I mean, obviously he looked great in it, and he has great advanced metrics and stuff like that. But I think I need a little.
The thing is, he's looked great in every game he's played. He just hasn't been bell cowed yet, except for one game, and he balled out in the one game he was bell cowed. And I don't think the Broncos' offense is going to get any worse going forward. Like,
yeah,
Melvin's out of there, so I mean, things are looking up for him. He's really good
if they commit to him, though, because I mean that's the biggest thing is they just got to commit to him because they've been kind of flipping running backs. Like they did the same thing with Phillip Lindsay when he looked really good and just like sent him off. I guess like obviously undrafted, so not the same amount of investment in him, but I can't really remember the last time they had a straight up bell cow. So they'd have to.
It was CJ Anderson, bro. I mean, bad boy CJ Anderson.
Peyton Manning years then, like that's time. So I mean,
it's like 2013. Yeah, there's obviously risk to it, but when I'm looking at a guy that's 21 years old and is putting up the metrics that he is, and I'm looking at the rest of the running backs, and when you look back at our draft and what happened, everyone that went young, it ended up benefiting them. So I just feel like I would take the young guy.
That's fair.
Very fair. So my number 8 is Tyreek Hill, one behind you, Marcus. Jeremy's got a good one. There's not very many receivers in the league that can just pop off as
yeah.
He's one of the few receivers that can get you 15 fantasy points on one play. Like, he's capable of any given play.
I have Jalen Waddle at number 8.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I can see it. The talent is definitely there.
He's so perfect for Tua because Tua like is, Mr. Short range and like quick hitter, and Jalen is able to create separation in that short range, and he has the explosiveness to make big plays out of it. And I've been shocked just how much of a target hog he's been. I always thought of him as more of like a game breaker or like just deep shot guy, but he's really changed. And if Tua is going to be the guy and stick around there, I think that's a powerful player to have that could be, your top 5 receiver.
Yeah, I mean, And going off of that, my number 8's actually Derek Carr. I mean, when you talk about the two of those guys together, I mean, they're really love you, Carter.
That's a good one. Oh man. Well, Ty, I love the love you've been giving my team so far, man. With Waddle
You wait till you hear my number 9.
Go for it. Shoot us number 9.
Michael Hasty. No, I'm just kidding. My number 9 actually is a guy on your team, Matt. It's CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. Yeah, man. I've built some.
Okay, so just to
receivers.
Just to ask you, just because I think that's a little. You would rather have Jalen Waddle than CeeDee Lamb if you're Matt, like you value him.
I think with Jalen Waddle, you just get more target share, more receptions, and also it seems like higher touchdowns. It seems like Waddle's in the end zone every week. So I mean, I think he just gets a bigger piece of the pie, and if that pie is going to be Tua throwing 30 to 40 passes a game, yeah, I think I just like him a little bit more. I mean, obviously, he's a fantastic player, and he's with a better quarterback, but I don't know. I think there's more for Waddle in that offense he's in. There's more points out there than there might be for CeeDee.
You know, Ty. What were you saying, Marcus?
I was gonna say it's hard. It's kind of hard to argue that. I mean, I argue against that. Like that's a fair point. Like he definitely has more command of the offense. I just view CeeDee as a different talent. Like I think that he is unbelievably talented, and just like a situation where which offense is more likely to just completely bust. Miami's offense is much more likely to bust than Dallas's. So if you're talking about a team that's more consistently good on offense and won't give you those busts, because there's been weeks this year, right, where Miami scored like 0 points, and then they had like 1 week where they had 7 or something like that.
Yeah, they're weird.
Like it's
they started off like I think 2-7, and they've won 5 straight now. Or one.
Yeah,
they won 5.
I mean, Washington's won 5 straight now. It's weird. It's been a weird end of the season.
Yeah. I will say, like, I value CeeDee more as an owner of both of them, but I do absolutely love Jalen Waddle. And I actually will admit, Ty, I kind of changed my mind. We talked about this several weeks ago on the Huddle House when we were talking about the Deshaun Watson rumors, and you were kind of like, is Jalen Waddle a better prospect with Deshaun than he is with Tua? And I was like, yeah, he definitely is. I might have actually changed my tune on that because I just think that that Tua just targets him so much, and they're normally pretty accurate looks. Like Tua throws an accurate ball, and I just think that Waddle is so good as he currently is. I don't really need Tua to leave to value him how I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to go pretty quick here. Number 9, I have DK Metcalf. Regardless of struggles, talents there, I have him at 9.
Scare you at all with the idea that Russ is definitely out of Seattle next year?
It does to a certain extent, but also when you look at the level of receivers that are also in that area, he's younger than most of them. He's healthier than most of them, and he's more talented than most of them. So yes, that does scare me, which is why he's not higher, but I have him at 9.
It's why I bumped him a little bit. I do still like DK. He is on my list, but I am very concerned about him. My number 9 is Devontae Adams. I know he's older. I get it, but like I said, receivers can still be productive to their 30, 31. I'll take 3 years of having a top 3 probably receiver in the league. It's fine with me. I mostly have a young list, but I'll throw a few older guys that are super productive in there, and Devontae's one of those.
I have Alvin Kamara at 9.
Okay. Number 10, I have AJ Brown.
I thought we were at. Did I already said 9? That was my number 10. Sorry, I said number 9, but I meant 10.
Oh, okay. Your 9 was CeeDee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim was AJ. Yeah. Mitri's gonna love me for this one. This might be a hot take because even though he's been great, he is older. I'm going Cooper Kupp at 10. Like I said, it's another older receiver, but I mean Stafford's gonna be there for several years. McVay always gets receivers open, always has a good scheme. Like I said, it might only be for 3 or 4 years, but like he's so consistent and so good that like I'll take 3 or 4 years of amazing Cooper Kupp play. I'll take that over a risky play like AJ Brown, where they're normally pretty run heavy and the offenses look kind of inconsistent. Like I'll take the consistency of what the Rams bring with Kupp. I'll just take it in my first round.
Yeah, I guess it's just a strategy standpoint for me is just always just go young. So I take the guy that's still. He's obviously out of this world talented too. AJ Brown. It's just staying on the field, one, and two. Tannehill's had his ups and downs, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
No, did everyone say their number 10?
Yeah.
I think
Wait.
so.
Would you?
Okay,
Yeah.
number 11. I have Eckler.
Dang, I forgot you hadn't said Eckler yet. You kind of slide them a little bit in my book. Well, Ty has too. I get it, I guess. I know there is concerns, but I'm a big Eckler believer.
Is this number 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have Tyreek Hill here.
And this is where I put DK at 11.
Okay.
I bumped him a couple of weeks ago. He might have been 8 or 9. I bumped him a few spots just because of the uncertainty of Seattle. I'm convinced they're going to go full rebuild mode and just kind of scrap a lot of their assets. And DK might be kind of stranded, sort of like a Terry McLaurin type situation. Kind of, not that the Washington's awful, but, just with inconsistent QB play, not really knowing who's throwing him the ball. Like, it's just, there's a lot of question marks, and that's concerning.
All right, so this for me is the point where I kind of ran out of a lot of the young superstar players. So I went with Nick Chubb at 12.
At 12, okay. Yeah.
No Gibby?
I didn't want to piss you guys off too much, but I was tempted. When I was looking at that list, I was like, he's not on it, but he's close.
I mean, he's your young guy, though. I thought you would have gone him over Chubb.
No, I think that Chubb is much safer. Don't get me wrong. I've kind of teetered back and forth on Gibson, but I think that clearly now it's shown that a lot of it was injury issues, which was a shin splint.
You just need
But
there.
yeah, I mean, they clearly have noticed that Washington finds success when Gibson finds success. So they've been feeding this man the ball more than any other running back in the league other than Jonathan Taylor the last 5 weeks. So he's 5th in the league in rushing, and he's actually 1st in the NFC in rushing. So he hasn't been a bust, but he just hasn't been as good as I would have expected. I think he's RB 11 on the season. I picked him at RB 9. So it's just kind of a little bit of a disappointment. But he's still 23. I love that guy.
He's still been really solid. These, especially the past couple weeks, just showing a glimpse of what he should be for years to come. He's just in my honorable mentions too. I really do like Gibson, but couldn't quite get him in the 14. My number 12 is Alvin Kamara. Still question marks for sure, but I'll take the passing game usage. I'll take what he brings when he's healthy. So have him at 12.
Yeah, and I slid Dalvin into my 12 spot.
Okay.
He was another really hard one for me. It's the talent's there, but for a running back, he is on the older side and he has an injury history. It's I remember
go ahead.
Last year when I had him, it was just impossible. You get these notifications every single game about him leaving the game, and you're like, here we go again. Then he would come back, and then he would leave, and then he would come back.
Yeah, I felt the same way. But anytime I do, because I get those too as his manager this year. But even as whenever I do get to watch him or see a highlight, he is like a Cadillac, man. The way he moves through, how swift he is, he's really talented. So I still think that's going to carry him for a while longer.
Yeah, I hope so. Undoubtedly, talent's there.
He's amazing.
13, I slid in CMC. I have CMC at 13.
I have Nick Chubb at 13. Him and Kamara was kind of a toss-up for me. I sort of juggle with that one. My original ranking, I had Chubb at 12, Kamara at 13. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I think I like Kamara slightly more, but they're pretty neck and neck for me. I think I value them pretty equally, but I think I like Kamara slightly more, so I put Chubb at 13.
13 is where I slotted in Eckler. He's just so good with Herbert. I just value, I guess, the more pure runners ahead of somebody that is more dependent on the receiving work, even though he hasn't had much of a problem with it this time around. He's gotten his touchdowns, which was always a big problem in the red zone. That's where I got him.
I agreed with you all the way up until this season. And it's especially you look at a player is so capped based on their receiving work. Gibson, for example, we're just talking about him. McKissick goes out and he gets 6 or 7 targets a game now, and he's having great fantasy games. But at the beginning of the year, he wasn't getting more than 1 or 2 targets a game, and he could have 20 touches, but they're all rushing attempts. And then you have guys like Eckler, who just have 10 receptions a game. They're just dominating. So like, unless you're like putting up like Jonathan Taylor rushing numbers, like you're not going to be able to outwork some of these receiving backs in fantasy. It's tough. Like Swift is another good example, although he tends to get good rushing yards as well. But I mean, his receiving work is.
It's a turn off of that, but it's the same way with rushing quarterbacks. I mean, 20 points are not created equally. Like I played Taysom Hill last week. Dude throws 4 picks, but he finished the game with 20 fantasy points because he had 100 yards rushing. And I mean, for a lot of quarterbacks like Taylor Heineke, he has to play the game of his life to get to 20 fantasy points. But Taysom Hill does it on a game he played poorly. And, it's the same type of thing as receiving backs.
It's the Carson Wentz.
Anyhow, 14. We got to get this one in.
Yes.
I mean, it's.
Okay, yeah, I'll say mine real quick. This is where I put Derrick Henry. He was another one similar to CMC, very tough to rank. Hard to know what to make of the injury and his age and things like that. But I'll take his running ability for a few more years and soak it all up.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Put Kamara.
Yeah,
Alvin Kamara, number 14.
I liked AJ Brown in this one. He's a beastly receiver, injury history, but he's a true number one. And whenever that offense is humming, he's usually a big reason why. So they've had a weird year with injuries, but he's obviously really good and young.
Great player.
Hey, Ty, so we got 60 seconds left. You want to say any last word before your big matchup? I mean, yours is the biggest one of all of ours. Like a lot of them have implications, but yours is the big one.
It's been a joy, and no matter what happens, I had fun this season, and I hope that I can go out on top and clinch a spot. But if not, I can lay my head knowing that I had fun, and ultimately it's all my fault, so I can't blame anybody else other than me. So that's what I'll live with.
It's comforting knowing you can blame yourself for everything.
All me.
Are you going to do the playoff preview next week if you're not in it?
If they can, if anyone can find me, yeah.
I'm gonna have to get another guy on there that week. All right, guys, that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thanks for being on, Marcus. See y'all later.
Peace.